I am hatred. When you look at me, you look at hate. When you look at me, you know what hate is.
Tommy Lynn Sells was born in Oakland in June 1964 to Nina, an unmarried mother. He lost his twin sister to meningitis. Before he was 9 years old, he was molested by a man with Nina's consent. By 10 years, Tommy has already started using drugs. Tommy generally had a rough childhood and was abandoned by the rest of the family. By the time Tommy was just 14, he was living on the roads, a permanent drifter. Following a series of assaults and petty crimes, Tommy tried getting help from a mental health institute but wasn't successful. He then turned towards alcohol, and by 1982, he was also arrested for public drunkenness. Sells was a serial killer. He confessed that he committed his first murder when he was just 15 years old.
The first time I did a shot of dope, it was the best feeling I ever had in my life. And the first time I killed somebody, it was such a rush. And it was just like that shot of dope. Every time I did it, it was that rush again. And I started chasing that high.
Sells was involved in several crimes, from theft to assault and driving under the influence. He moved to St. Louis, Missouri in 1983, where he unapologetically killed a woman and her daughter with a baseball bat. Sells went on a killing spree, raping women, mutilating private parts, killing children, and assaulting the corpses of his victims.
I like to use a knife. A gun is too violent, too noisy, but just fit my hand well.
From Stephanie Stroh, who he strangled and dumped in the desert, to Keith Darden, who he shot in the head after Darden had offered him a ride, Sells killed without mercy.
And I like to watch the eyes fade, the pupil fade. It's just like setting their soul free.
He decimated Darden's family, killing his son, Peter, and attacking his wife, Elaine, who was pregnant with a child. The beatings Elaine received were so severe that she went into premature labor and gave birth to a daughter. Sells killed the newborn baby, raped the mother, mutilated her breasts, before eventually killing her. He then went on to sexually assault her corpse with the same baseball bat he used to murder her. He was also responsible for the attempted murder of Fabienne Witherspoon and Kayleen Harris. These survivors provided information that helped the police track down and arrest Sells in early 2000. In a murderous career that spanned 5 U.S. states and lasted for decades, Sells killed more than 15 confirmed people and confessed to several unconfirmed killings.
I didn't want him to live through the pain I lived through.
Sells, or the coast-to-coast killer, as he called himself, received the death penalty and declined to make any final statements or show remorse.
I suffer more here than I'll ever suffer in that grave. I have to live with it every day now. When they kill me, at least I'll be free then.
On April 3, 2014, a lethal dose of pentobarbital was given to him, and 13 minutes later, he was pronounced dead.
I know if you're even sorry. Are you sorry for what you did?
Michael Swanson. Born on May 11, 1993, Michael was only 17 when he killed 2 young women. His mother confessed that right from childhood, Michael had been a troubled kid. He had trouble sleeping and found it hard to interact with other children. He was always restless and was often aggressive toward his mother. The mother noted that by the time Michael was 11, his psychiatrist had given up on him. At 17, Michael traveled from Minnesota to Iowa to rob a store. There, he shot and killed Vicki Bowman Hall, an innocent store clerk. At this point, Michael was on a godless rampage. The teenager then went to another Iowa county, where he shot Sheila Myers, another innocent store clerk. When Michael was asked to recount what happened, he smirked and described the half-gasp and half-scream Sheila Myers made when he pulled the trigger. He confessed that it made him feel powerful. Michael showed no remorse from the arrest to the trial, casually replying to the policeman who was part of the team that arrested him.
Because I didn't ask if you wanted a cigarette or anything like that.
If I can, yeah.
I guess some people just get shot, when he was asked how he felt after the shooting. After his lawyers failed to convince the court that he had a mental illness,
a doctor who puts in his report that without antipsychotic medication, he's going to rob people, he's going to use weapons and commit violent acts, yet they let him out without any kind of medication.
Cold-blooded murder, young man. And your counsel wants us to believe that you lack the capacity, that you were insane. And I don't buy into that. You are dangerous. You are unpredictable, and there is no place for you in an open, law-abiding society. Prison for the rest of your life is the only alternative, and the court intends to follow through.
When the sentence was being read, Michael was seen smiling and laughing. This is definitely not the behavior of someone who is remorseful. According to Michael's warped philosophy, killing someone is like pouring a bucket of water on someone entering a pool. By this, he meant that people are going to die anyway, so it makes no difference if they die at 80 or 30. While in prison, Michael attempted to kill a fellow inmate. Although the inmate survived, he needed stitches to close more than 13 lacerations. This attempted murder earned Michael an additional 25 years in prison. MacDonald was considered the Jack the Ripper of Australia and terrorized New South Wales and Queensland, Australian states. Born as Allen Ginsberg on June 17, 1924 in Liverpool, United Kingdom, MacDonald joined the army at 19. MacDonald was sexually assaulted by one of his corporals in the army, which brought him a lot of trauma until his death. In 1947, he was finally discharged from the army and sent to a mental asylum, having been diagnosed with schizophrenia. Before 1960, he changed his name and moved to Australia. In 1961, MacDonald killed Amos Hugh Hurst, his first victim, a 63-year-old man with whom he befriended and went on a drinking session. They went to the man's house from the local pub and had more alcohol. They got drunk, and MacDonald strangled Hurst. He then laid him on his bed and left the apartment. Hurst was reported to have died accidentally, and MacDonald was in the clear. By mid-1961, MacDonald claimed his second victim, Alfred Reginald Greenfield. MacDonald met Greenfield, 41 at the time, in Green Park. He offered Greenfield alcohol, lured him away, and waited till he fell asleep before stabbing him 30 times and severing his genitals. MacDonald used a similar method to murder his third and fourth victims, 37-year-old Ernest William Cobbin and Frank Gladstone McLean, severing their genitals. MacDonald's method of killing and severing his victims' genitals earned him the nickname, the Mutilator. In June 1962, MacDonald killed his fifth victim, 37-year-old Patrick Joseph Hackett. Following investigations by Melbourne police, MacDonald was identified and arrested. He did not deny the killings. Instead, he chalked the murders down to an unquenchable urge to kill. MacDonald claimed that the voices in his head told him that the people he killed were the corporal that raped him as a teenager in the army. His trial began in September 1963, and he was charged with 4 counts of murder. MacDonald pleaded not guilty, claiming insanity. During the trial, he testified in the gory details of how he murdered those 4 men in cold blood.
The teen accused of killing 3 students and shooting 2 more last month.
Thomas Michael was responsible for the tragic shooting of Chardon High School, Ohio, in February 2012. Thomas was born in the 3rd week of September 1994. He was 17 years old when he shot and murdered 3 students and injured several others with a .22 caliber handgun. Thomas started shooting randomly at students in the cafeteria at around 7:30 in the morning. He shot 5 male students and a female student before trying to escape. He was pursued and subdued by Frank Hall, a school coach, with help from Joseph Rizzi, a teacher in the school. The affected students were quickly taken to the hospital, but 3 did not survive. Lane was arrested. His trial was swift, and he was convicted. However, his behavior and lack of remorse in court raised an uproar. Weeks before Thomas murdered his fellow students, he posted about killing some people on his Facebook page. No location was given, and nobody took the warning seriously. On the day of the murders, he came to school in a sweatshirt with the word killer emblazoned on it. He replicated this sick sense of humor during his trial, coming to court in a white shirt with the word killer scrawled on it. He recounted disrespectfully how he killed his victims, mocked the family members of the victims, and gave them the middle finger. He treated the whole trial as a joke, laughing and cursing the court. He was given 3 life sentences, 1 for each student he killed. In September 2014, Thomas and 2 other inmates escaped from Allen Correctional Institution in Lima, Ohio, where he was serving his sentence. The Chardon High School was shut down as a safety precaution, and less than 24 hours later, Thomas and his cohorts were recaptured. Thomas is now an inmate of Warren Correctional Institution in Youngstown, Ohio, a supermax prison. There, he'll see out the rest of his sentence in absolute confinement and isolation until his name is called to meet the judicial system's most unforgiving penalty, judicial execution. Which of these murderers was the most shocking? Let us know in the comments section.